Okay, Pep Talks family, daylights, friends, whoever's listening, thank you for joining. So, I do have another installment today that we're going to be talking about, and I do have another guest. But first things first, I'm going to go ahead and explain the topic that we have, which is how to be the adult that you needed. So, with that being said, getting into it, my guest today, she is a Texas beauty, a vocal powerhouse who has released 2 albums. She's also a vocal coach and an all around light of joy. And fun fact, she celebrates Tree G Music Day in February of every year as well. Um, Let her tell you more about that. So we're going to welcome in Tree G. Hello.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. I am well also. So I am honored and grateful to have you join today.
I am honored to be here. Um, I greatly appreciate you holding space with your platform, um, gearing towards, hearts, ears, spirits, souls that need to hear it and be heard. Thank you for Pep Talks.
Thank you. That means a lot. Certainly means more than you know. So I definitely appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome.
So we're not going to start waterworks today.
No waterworks.
None of that. So before we get into it, one of the things I'm trying to make sure I start doing before we get into the conversations is doing my pep talks prayer that I have. So
hmm
I'm gonna take a quick moment to do that together,
hmm
and then we can get into it.
Wonderful.
Okay. All right. So with that being said, the prayer simply says, "This is not a space to feel judged. This is not a space to feel ashamed. This is not a space to feel alone. But this is a space to feel peace. This is a space to confess. This is a space to let go. And this is a space to receive. Spirit of light, we invite you in to illuminate the darkness. Spirit of peace, we invite you in to settle the chaos within. Spirit of love, we invite you in to comfort. And Spirit of joy, we invite you in to make us whole. While our pieces make us feel separated, we understand that it is our cracks that lets our light shine through. And it is our truth and our love that sets us free. And we are the light that shines through the darkness. We are the love that frees ourselves and others. And we are worthy of every goal, every dream, and everything that we aspire to be. And now we breathe in. So take a moment to breathe in, to receive the newness of life, and exhale to release the old. And this begins our pep talk.
Yes.
So I want to make sure I start implementing that in a lot of the conversations that I have with these, as it is a safe space to come together and just talk freely and share love, laughter, and whatever else comes with that in that moment. So tell us a little more of who you are, Tree. What do you do? What do you offer?
Okay, well, tell us more. Who you are, what you do, what you offer. Okay, so first of all, I offer voiceovers. If you ever need me for a voiceover, I don't know how many voices I've done since I've been on this call already. Kidding, but not kidding. I am a vocal coach. I am a hugger. I am light, as you called me. I am a child of the King. I am the salt of the earth, darling. I am grateful. I am a friend. I'm an aunt. I'm a cousin. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I am living. I am of sound mind. I am inspirational. At least I hope to be. I pray to be. Um, I am myself. I am unique. and I am collectively interested in the embetterment of my fellow man. I am Tree G Music, singer, songwriter, performing artist, recording artist. The list can go on. A smiler. I like to smile. I like to deeply think. I like to share. I like to leave things, people, places, and situations better than what I found them.
Mm-hmm.
I like to dream. I like to materialize. I like to ride go karts. I like to relax. I like to eat good food. And again, the list can go on. I'll stop it there because I know we have questions.
Listen, but no, I mean, again, that question is at its simplest and truest form. Again, who you are.
Yes.
And that also captured a lot of what you do and what you offer as well. So that is, listen, I'm here for it. So
Yeah.
I'm here for all that. But no, so we do have a topic to discuss today. And again, it's, whew, we gonna see how loaded this thing is.
I know, right? Come on, mashed potatoes.
Right?
Loaded. Cheese, bacon bits, chives, sour cream, butter, pepper,
And that just shows how life is layered and a lot that comes with it for sure.
and
But
tasty.
and tasty.
Hmm.
But definitely just discussing too. It's just as it is how to be the adult that you needed.
Hmm.
Um, whew. Um, First question I'll ask is, um, hmm, what are some of the experiences that you remember in your life with the adults that's in your life? Is there anyone in particular that stood out, or um, in regards to, and this can be a loaded question again, anything that you saw in those experiences that you knew you wanted to be like, certain things you knew that you didn't want to be like? What are some of those experiences you may have that you would like to share?
Okay. When I heard this question, it's like I had two or three schools of thought, and then I have to select which one we're going to go forward with today. And we could possibly get to all three, but there's one um, memory that stuck out to me, which was a teacher that had a car that I used to love. Like, I just loved the car because a person that I um, had aspired to be like that was outside of my household. The first, memory of a person that was outside of my family that I looked up to and um, just appreciated her mannerisms, the way she talked to people, the way she treated um, the people that she taught, and just the way she kind of moved through life as much as I could see with my young, perspective on life.
Mm-hmm.
She had a car that she drove, and that became my favorite car because she had it. It was trimmed a certain way, it was a certain color, and I can appreciate being able to attach something material to who I looked up to at the time because it made me feel like I always had something to think of that would remind me of that teacher. And I just appreciated um, the teaching style, the patience that she had, the life lessons that she would teach through, cause and effect or through examples, how she would, again, take her time. She would use different teaching techniques to make sure everyone in the classroom was on the same page because we
Hmm.
all learned differently.
Right.
And I just remember the patience she had, and that really stuck with me. So, experiences with adults in your life, is there anyone that stood out? And yeah, so I started it off with that one.
Okay. All right. And I agree with you that even with the other two that you said you had as well, maybe that may come up in some of the other questions we'll have. Or
Of
again,
course.
if you feel you want to jump back to that one, that's fine too.
Hmm.
So building off of that, especially with saying her patience and things stood out to you. Do you think your childhood, or how do you think your childhood plays a part in how you show yourself as an adult today?
Oh, I think it definitely plays a part. Just stemming from that one example, I find myself uh, presenting things in different ways often just to make sure I grabbed or everyone in the room could grasp what I was saying. Um,
Mm.
because sometimes uh, I've been I've heard that I speak in parables. you know, sometimes it's like, well, the grass is really green only because the soil is almost black. And it's like, what do you mean, tree? Um, and so I've learned to kind of open up my communication a bit just because of those interactions and, one-to-one interactions, but also just seeing that she doesn't only treat me this way, she treats everyone this way. And it's so
Mhm.
pleasant. And I think that was an inspiring way to approach life, not just one to one, but to every person. And then turning that patience back to yourself. And
Yes.
so that would say, how does that play a part in my life today? I actually find that I have been returning to uh, experiencing more grace in my life. I feel that as we are on this journey of like tackling goals and execution and, checking things off of our to do lists, sometimes we forget the very intricate things that mean so much, the little things, the things that have special nuances that only can be shared between two and three and four people, a small community. That's one thing we're getting away from, I think,
Yeah.
but just community, especially because we've all just been through a trying time with being so disconnected um, as a social norm. And I think getting back to connecting with one another has a lot to do with the quality of life that we're all able to elevate to. So back to how my childhood, that specific example, ties into myself as an adult today. I find myself giving myself a little more grace, but I
Hmm.
have to do it intentionally, and I have to remind myself to do it sometime. But it's getting less and less the times that I'm having to say, "Hey, hold on. This is the first time you've done this. This is the first time that you've been alive in September of 2022. This is your first time ever seeing this day. Allow yourself a little bit of grace. Allow yourself a little bit of time. Allow yourself a little bit of a knowledge curve, you know. Allow yourself to learn some things. It's okay not to get it right the first time, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that's the kind of patience that I am now just realizing as I'm talking to you, recollecting on how that teacher um, walked through her communication style and even laughing at herself sometime, has me returning to that um, all these years later.
Gotcha. No, that's you've made a lot of great points in that, and specifically, if just with main two words I'll pull is just grace and patience, and to further, just also grace and compassion. Because I
Hmm.
feel like we, a lot of times in that, we do also try to give that to a lot of people, but we do forget to give ourselves that.
We do.
Um, and a lot of times it's definitely a thing where we hold on to this thing of trying to be perfect from day one or the beginning of doing
Right.
something. It's like, I remember this video was going around once before that was saying, how sometimes in trying new things, we're afraid of looking foolish. And it's like, you're
You're
probably
always
gonna look a
afraid.
little silly. It's like you've never
Right.
done this. So it's like allow yourself that space to look silly or whatever. But
Exactly.
it's weird that we don't. Like it's so weird that we have this expectation that it's like to do anything for the first time. Um and probably it's probably really silly, but even for me, one of the reasons why I probably won't learn how to swim at my big age is because I expect myself going in to just know how to do it, and it's like, no, your head's gonna go under. You're going to slip, and that's okay. But no, I think that was a very great point. And part of the reason why I even wanted to do this conversation too is just being the adult that you needed. Not only, I think a lot of times we think it should be about, so it's just me kind of explaining the topic a bit more too. It can go both ways. It can be one way of saying, how do we be the adult to someone else in the
Hmm.
way that we need it, and also how to be the adult that we need it for ourselves. So how to go back and give ourselves those things that we may have not gotten during those times as well.
Yeah.
um so wow, okay.
When I
Great
was,
great points. I'm sorry, go ahead.
yeah, when I was thinking about the topic, um, because, this is the first time that I'm hearing the actual questions, and I think that it's a beautiful process to see how these questions will incite the different, conversations that we'll have. Because this is going to be my first time hearing the questions, which I love. Um, and when I had the chance to think of the topic itself, I just wanted to differentiate the fact that I'm talking about the topic right now before we go back into what is that, third question?
Hmm.
Um, so I thought about how to be the adult you needed, right? So we think about if we assume that we needed an adult, there has to be an assumption that a certain kind of adult was not there
Hmm.
in one regime of thought, right? Walk with me here. So if if we assume that we needed an adult, a certain kind of an adult, then that would be the same to say we did not have a certain kind of adult, right?
Right.
And I was thinking about instances where I could truly say I would have handled that a little bit differently, you know. And as a younger person, um, we always hear like young folks say, when I grow up, I'm not going to do this. When I grow up, I'm not going to be that.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And it's like the old folks would say, you just keep living, baby.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because we don't know what we don't know. And once you get a certain age and once you get, even certain experience, because I won't say a certain age, but certain experience, once you get certain experience, it's kind of like you look back and realize, what those who had wisdom far past what you were at that time, you start to realize they were right, or
Yeah.
you start to realize they were wrong. And so, one thing that stuck out to me when you said that the topic was going to be, you know, being the adult that you once needed, how to be that adult. And two things that popped up for me was someone to say, "You're right," because I I have experienced, or even like I hear, even people that I've grown up with or that are younger than me have said, oh, this generation these days, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they start listing negative attributes about the generation today. And we all know the tall tale of every generation says, oh, this generation now, they're just different. They're just, and again, the negative attributes. But I'd like to start the conversation about what this new generation, or the generation that's speaking now, speaking positively about those to come, because people have to realize you're speaking of your children, you're speaking
Yeah.
of your grandchildren, you're speaking of the children that your great great grandchildren will have, that will bear your name, that will have your blood, that will have your DNA. Are you to speak on them in this way? You know,
Yeah.
it's like that. And it goes back to being the adult that you needed, because I find that when I see people do that, it's because that is the kind of adult that they had.
Yep.
And when you are an adult for the first time, you do things, when in Rome, do as the Romans do, right?
Yeah.
While you're an adult now, do what you saw adults do when you were younger. And it's like a default, which cuts off the opportunity for us to think, think things through, change the narrative, um, add to this next generation instead of tearing them down, add to your own generation instead of repeating the things
Right.
that the generation before you have already done. I remember a friend of mine making a joke about once they had their kid, they finally had their kid, and they were like, I'm going to, I don't know what they did. I forget what it was, but it was something like petty and I mean, soft. It wasn't too harsh, but it was just, it had a lot of pettiness in it. Like, okay, so for instance, Lil Junebug, go turn off that light and get me the remote, right?
Yeah.
And they bring the remote, and then once the child leaves, they look over and say, I've been waiting to do that. It
Yep.
is just like, and it's just like, okay, I get it. But you have able legs, able body, able limbs. Go ahead and use them things. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But not only that, I mean, I get the whole thing. It was funny, and it was like they were wearing it like a badge of honor, and it was cute to see. Yet, if you take that same scenario and talk about the dream, if you will, that has been peddled to us year after year, decade after decade, century after century, the one that incites self-doubt, the one that does not promote worthiness, that dream that has been peddled uh, to the generations. Let's change that narrative, instead of saying, oh, I couldn't wait to do that.
Yeah.
And the thing that you couldn't wait to do is actually uh, promote demise of the, mental wherewithal of the next generation.
Mm-hmm. And it's definitely the trauma. It's
Oh, yeah.
because
Am I the
it's,
trauma?
it's
No.
literally the trauma of like, and again, we have those same conversations, and that's one of the things I love about like social media these days is that
Mm-hmm.
yes, it shows a lot of our differences, but it shows a lot of our similarities as well. But it also shows how, when you think about it now, being in the Black African American community, I'll speak for us in saying that it's like, whew, a lot of us have had some of those same experiences.
Right,
Of even the same analogy you just use it, just like, oh, telling them to go and get something while they're, the remote is right beside them the whole
right,
time, kind of thing.
right.
But it's like, it's so easy to want to pass on that trauma. And
It
instead of,
is.
like you said, it's like, let's reshape that and change the narrative. It's like, okay, someone did do this to me, but that doesn't mean I have to go back and inflict that same trauma on someone else,
Exactly.
you know? Um, and it's I don't know. And as you said, it is funny at times, so it is comical, and I think that's one of the things where it's, all of us who are adults now, is our trauma bonding. Um,
Right. Ooh, let's talk about that. Ooh,
yes.
let's talk about
Before we
that.
do, let's take a quick break, and then we'll come back in with that point there.
A quick break.